You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 244, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram and Facebook. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards. John's away this week, but hope we have him back next week. All right, before we start, just a quick plug for the free 5 Card Guys monthly newsletter that we send out. It's a great place to connect with even more hobby news, top auction listings, updates on podcast episodes like this one, and contest giveaways as well. And speaking of which, I'm giving away one of the Topps Now U.S. Olympics basketball card. No, it's not the one of one that I was hoping for, but still a nice looking base card. So if you want to enter, just email me at hello@5cardguys.com or DM me on Instagram at 5cardguys. I'll put all the links in the show notes below. All right, off the top, let's talk about the Victor Wembanyama Topps Mercury release briefly. I know it's all over social media. Yes, it's $8,000 per box. I put a reel out there the other day saying most breakers are offering these random break spots, 1 of 8, for on average $1,300. The risk, of course, is if you hit one of the 2 base cards in the box, so there's 2 base cards out of the 8, they seem to be selling for $200, right? The early sales anyway. But there's always that one RPA that you can hit, which are going for thousands, or at least listed for thousands right now. So now that we've seen some of the cards, Hyung, and the pricing around it, what do you think of the set now? And have you changed your mind at all about this? And I know you were put your name to buy one. So did you buy one?
No, I didn't. I didn't get it, unfortunately. The crazy thing is they're reselling. I mean, after you do all the fees and calculate it, is it worth it? But right now, the resale value on eBay is like between $9.5K and $10K for these boxes. But it's exactly what we talked about. I think what we expected. I think there's going to be, seeing the cards now, I think anything 50 out of 50 and below, I think will do decently well. I think that's where the demand is. But even the RPAs, I think they're pretty weak unless you're getting even. I didn't see a out of 50 RPA yet, but the really nice ones are the out of 10, out of 5, out of 25. You start getting more than the napkin patch. So I think those will do well in the long run. It's a tough break based on these prices, though. I mean, you pull a nice out of 75 card, you're probably losing a couple grand still, right? Right. So it's like, what are you trying to hit? But this is the crazy part with one. I think the 1 of 1 chases are probably what's going to keep this product moving and the value high. So as long as you have those 1 of 1s not pulled, I think more people are willing to at least try. And sure. You know what I mean? And you get lucky. It's just like a higher end break. It's no different than, Topps Chrome or even, let's just say you go to a casino, the larger payouts are actually on the higher denomination slots, right? So it's like, I feel like that's the same way. If you can't really say that this is crazy gambling, because we do it all the time. On cheaper sets with lesser odds, I find, to hit something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but it is overpriced regardless. Like 6,000 autos, we talked about this. There's going to be 10,000 autos. And I remember we talked about a comment on the original reel you put out, and someone was saying that how, even Steph Curry, you would think that there would be a lot less autos out there in his rookie year, but we calculated, I think, 6,000 to 8,000 Steph Curry autos at the end of the day. So having Victor at 10,000, is it that bad in the long run? It might not be, right? So there's that factor you have to put in play. And obviously, Topps Mercury just released, so you're paying premiums for it. And another point that I think the timing of the market is really good that Topps did, because you do have, basketball season kicking off. And I think San Antonio is going to be really good this year, believe it or not, right?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I know it's a hot take, but I think having Chris Paul there changes the whole dynamics of Wemby and what Wemby could actually do, right? So I think we haven't seen that yet, and I think the timing with that and the Topps Mercury and then Topps Chrome Sapphire releasing, I think there's going to still be a crazy hype, which is insane, but still overhyped in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a peak hype right now, I think. But that's interesting. Like, I don't think the Spurs are going to do that well, but I do think Wemby's going to go to the next level because of a guy named CP3 setting him up. We've kind of started to see that in preseason already, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you saw that picture. He looks jacked now, but so
he is getting older.
Yeah, he's building muscle, but you know what? I fell for it with Zion Williamson, so I'm kind of cautiously optimistic, I guess, with a young guy like Wemby. But yeah, I agree with everything you just mentioned. The one difference I think between like that casino gambling analogy is that when people win, when people hit these big one of ones or low numbered cards, you see it all over social media. So there's this perception that, it looks like it's, there's a lot of winners out there. Whereas, casino, you kind of like, when you think about all the winners, you're like, okay, that guy got lucky. You're probably going to lose. Like, I come in with that kind of mentality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm going to casino just to have fun. If I win, bonus.
Right,
Whereas people coming into this breaks like, I got a chance. And then you usually leave sorely disappointed.
Pretty much. But there are a lot of one of ones. That's another thing we calculated, because you got to think about it.
Right.
Every player in that set is Victor. So
yes.
In the autos specifically, you have 10 superfractors in the regular rookie autos, right? And then whatever they call it, foil fractors or one of ones, the RPAs, whatever they call it, there's 10 of those one of ones. So and then you include the 6 Wemby auto one of ones with the dual. So I think there's 26 one of ones.
That's crazy.
That's insane. But hey, that's the thing. It's not too scarce where, somebody with a one of one that's going to sell for $1 million as opposed to a few $100,000, right? So I think it evens out the odds a little bit for those that are breaking. There's a lot more chances to hit that one of one, where technically we think that a one of one is just that one, like the Topps Now hit, right?
Yeah. It's a paradox, but yeah, that's. But I mean, if you hit a 1-on-1, you're definitely making your money back. And if I'm a breaker, I'm trying to break this product as quickly as possible.
100%.
I don't know if you saw Jeff Wilson's post. He has a lot of those boxes. I guess he got in the lottery and he probably maxed out the 25 boxes that you can get from the Topps website. So, I don't know what he's going to do. He's probably going to break most of them, I'm guessing, or like just open it up himself. But yeah. I don't know. If you're just a regular collector like us, it is high risk though, so just be careful.
Super high risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
buy
be
singles.
Careful. Yes, that's the thing. Buying singles, you already see some of them at much more quote unquote affordable prices. That's probably usually always the best way to go, right? Getting singles. It's not as fun, but usually the best way to go.
And that's the theory that I have in when you're going after a high chase player, and we talked about this in Otani's case,
yes,
right? You look after 4 years or 5 years, those reds, like out of 5, out of 10, out of 25, out of 50, or I would say the superfractor, the red, and out of 25. A lot of people overpay because they're so scarce. But I think the better buy over a long period of time is the less scarce, right? And buying early in that case, because I find like people are so locked into the super low number that it does increase over time, but I don't think you're going to get the crazy multipliers like you would on the lower. And I think it's the same with this. I think the better buys, if you're going to buy singles, are in the, I would say, more liquid.
99?
Not 99. I think it's in between that 50 and 99 where people are like,
Okay.
I don't want this, and then it goes for way less than it should just because the extreme desired ones are the super rare ones that people are overpaying, and then over time, I think we talked about the whole 10,000 autos, 6,000 of these coming from this set. I think they will hold value in some sense, given that Victor becomes an iconic player in the NBA and continue his basketball legacy, right? So, a lot of stipulations, but that's my theory.
I can see that. I can see that working out. So when you say less scarce, and I threw out 99, you think even like 50, 75, that range?
I think in that range, that's the better buy. But like I said, you look at the RPAs in the 75s, they're all 75s and 99s. They're all napkin patch RPAs. So, but at the end of the day, you look at Luka's RPAs. Doesn't matter. If you bought in early, regardless of the type of patch, people want an RPA at the end of the day. And how many RPAs are out there, right? So, yeah.
One thing I want to ask before we go to the next segment. So the patch or the relics, they are, I believe, game used. Like
they are. That's what
I think
they
it's
said.
game used for during his debut game or during the game where he scored whatever points. Like it's a meaningful game. You think that has any factor to it?
100%.
Even though it might be plain.
I think over the long run, and this is what we've always said. It's like if Fanatics is the best in sports memorabilia, right? And then Topps now has a moments type brand, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, why wouldn't you amalgamate the two and do all RPAs as game used? Because you have access. You don't have to, buy that from an external resource perspective. It's everything's in house anyways. And I think that's what they know that. So that's what I was always looking forward to, at least if under Fanatics' brand, you should get quality memorabilia if it's the lower number tier type card. I still don't buy that. I still wouldn't want a napkin patch RPA. Like I rather two color. You know what I mean? Obviously everybody's that way, right? But yeah.
No, it's cool that they're actually making use of the fact that they have access to actually game used, jerseys, and they're using it and they're incorporating it into their cards. So I want to bring that up. All right, let's move on to hobby headlines. All right, I don't know if you saw this, but on X, formerly Twitter, there was a post by Grand Salami Sports Cards, and they complained earlier this week about a Shohei autograph card. More specifically, the card was a 2022 Finest Flashbacks, and I believe it was a gold refractor, and that card got a PSA 9. Okay, so what Grand Salami Sports Card did was, I guess, crack it and resend it express so that they could get the express notes this time. Remember that? And it came back a PSA 9 again, and this time with an explanation because they went that express level. And here's what he tweeted out. Quote, "Hey, PSA card at Nat Turner," I guess he tagged both of them. "I was really disappointed to get a 9 on this Ohtani auto that I subbed for a customer. It is one of the cleanest cards I have seen, and I was shocked it got a 9. We decided to resubmit Express to get greater notes, and it got a 9 again." And then he goes on to say that the greater notes said, quote, "front, top to bottom." And then he mentioned, quote, "Hate to break it to you, but there is zero chance this falls outside of the 60-40 tolerance you have listed in your standards for Gem Mint. So bummed out. Am I missing something here?" End quote. And then the next day, he tweeted out an update saying, quote, "Just got a message from at PSA card that this is going to be given a 10. Let's go." End quote. So a lot of people obviously are responding to this saying this sets a horrible precedent set, by PSA. Paul Lesko, who's known as the hobby lawyer, he tweeted a funny meme. And that meme photo of the guy holding a girl's hand and then him looking over the shoulder to another girl? So he tweeted the photo, and the guy in that photo is the hobby. The girl he's holding hands with is Kurt's Card Care. And the girl he's staring at is, quote, "telling PSA to try again."
That is amazing.
And then there was another meme he posted, which was a picture of a chart that was titled, "What gives people feelings of power?" The answers were money, and then status, and then the overwhelming fake response was getting PSA to change its mind.
Oh, man.
So anyway, initial thoughts as you hear this news, and what do you think the fallout might be, if any?
Man, this is a tough one for me because, like in general, it looks bad both ways. And I've been kind of saying this because I don't think PSA is consistent. We made fun of those. Oh, it's a PSA 7 always. And then we know, like I've cracked it and then got a PSA 9 the next time. And multiple times this has happened. So one, we always said that grading needs to be more objective based with proof.
Yes.
And I think this is where PSA, as the front runner in grading, this is where they have to, if they want to be number one and continue to be number one, they have to snip this in the butt. This is news that could, like, in 2 years, we'll be totally forget about this because they've taken care of the subjectiveness of grading, right? And one, even the standards of upcharges.
Right.
Like,
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous because if the market drops, do we get a refund back?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, probably not. Yeah.
You won't, right? So it's like those are things that I think PSA has to address as concerns, and but both ways, it's like deservingly so. If they think that it's a 10 and they resubmit it, there has always been reviews. Like you could ask to review it. I remember PSA had a service like that they could review the grade or something like that. So I think the subjectiveness is what needs to go, right? And we've been screaming with technology. There's no reason why you can't have, something that's more objective based with AI, with the technology we have to say, okay, this is the reason why we received it. End of story.
Yeah, it's pretty incredulous what happened, and I think just to add to your point, this could be like the Achilles heel for PSA if they don't nip it in the butt. You know what I mean? Yeah. That, if we see more of those kind of complaints and then these changes, like that trust factor is not there anymore, right? And then, or it could go the other way. It's like, oh, maybe I got a shot now to like regrade. And, I wonder if that's better. And in a weird way, is that better for PSA? Yeah, because he did resubmit it twice. He paid twice to get the same card graded, you know? And there are, I know other cases of other collectors trying to do the same thing, and they did not have the same luck as Grand Salami sports cards. Right. You know what I mean? So is it one of those things where they don't mind the resubmission because they get paid twice? I don't know.
Yeah, but even that is kind of like, as a company, how do you let that happen? You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you let a grade slip like that in the first place and then upcharge the customer saying that the customer was responsible? But at the same time, you can't say all reviews are free all of a sudden. Then you have millions of people saying, I've submitted multiple times. I'm saying multiple times over the years. Like, I get cards back PSA 7, PSA 8. I resubmit and I get PSA 9, PSA 10 grades multiple times. And then there are multiple times when I got a horrible grade and I didn't even send it back to PSA. I send it to SGC. I remember the Ovechkin Young Guns. Like, it's a big card. How does it go from a PSA 7 to a SGC 9.5?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's insane. Yeah, sure. Like, especially if these are thousands of dollars of cards that we're spending. So it's like, I think there's enough incidences, because I know I'm not the only one. I've been saying this for the last 2 years about PSA, right? And more people are revealing, because I would post every time this conversation came online on a forum or on Facebook, I would throw my example. I had a Spencer Torkelson Sparkle that bumped from a PSA 7 to a SGC 9.5, an Ovechkin Young Guns, same thing. So it was 3 different grades from 3 different grading companies. So every time I post it, it's the same thing. I see other examples of, yeah, I had a PSA 7 resubmitted with a different grading company, or PSA again. It was a PSA 9 from a PSA 7. It's like, how does that happen ever if your whole focal point is grading? Like, think, your whole thing is grading. Like, that's your business. So it's like, how do you not be good at that? And how do they still kill it? Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Like, how are they still not consistent with this? You know, that's the big question everyone's asking. Now, interestingly enough, you mentioned, you know, the use of AI technology, which is available. You know, you see these smaller grading companies using them, but they're just not getting that foothold within the grading company, because
For sure.
that speaks to brand power, right?
For sure.
PSA,
Absolutely.
BGS, SGC, they have all got it right now. So, but interestingly enough, in that post from Grand Salami Sports Card, a grading company called Edge Grading responded to the initial post, and they gave an assessment based on the photo of the card, right? And the issue, like we just read from his tweet, was that it was a centering issue, apparently, from the express notes. So based on the photo of the card, they were able to measure the card and how centered it was. And the results from this Edge Grading company is a small company. I've never heard of them before this, but they said left to right, it was a perfect 50-50 split. And from top to bottom, according to Edge Grading, it was a 47-53 split, which is within PSA standards, within their Gem Mint PSA 10 Gem Mint grade. So first, I think this is a smart move by Edge Grading to get their name out there, you know, but in the big picture, is this what PSA really needs to start offering? Like, you know, it's obvious their express notes seems to be really lacking. You know, when they announced it, like, oh, okay, more transparency. But like, I remember I did express notes for my Mike Trout, and then, you know, I got a really horrible auto grade, but there was no detailed explanation as to why, you know, and then you look at other companies like Tag, they already do this. I submitted a couple of cards to Tag, and they have a great kind of, a sheet where you could see, oh, this is how they grade it. So there are other companies doing this. And, I think, me personally, I think PSA needs to start doing it. You know, BGS should start doing this. And or maybe one of them could buy out Edge Grading, a company that already does it.
100%.
So,
I think that's the play. If you're Edge, if you're Tag, what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up that process to a T, where a company like PSA can really benefit from it. Because if PSA's whole like operational flow is it goes through human grading, and they're trying to scale up to millions of cards a month, right? Of course, there's going to be a certain percentage of quality like faults, right? And this is where PSA, I think, is lacking, because if you're trying to scale in this day and age, you have to use technology to do it. So if I'm a grading company like Tag or Edge, is it Edge?
Yep, Edge Grading.
I'm doing whatever I can do to clean up that process where PSA is lacking, and I'm selling my company to PSA. And if I'm PSA, I'm buying that company for whatever, because it's going to literally be way cheaper than trying to do it on your own and trying to restructure your whole logistical operation. So there's good opportunity here. Like I said, when we see flaws like this, it just creates more opportunities for others, for, you know, people start seeing the flaws and gaps and identifying the problems within kind of like our hobby, and they offer the solutions that will kind of get us to a better place, whether it's PSA now monopolizing and, you know, collectors purchasing another company. That would be the smart move for PSA, in my opinion.
It'd be even smarter move by Beckett. I'm still rooting for you, Beckett. I'm still good.
We need to buy Beckett somehow. Let's crowdfund.
Let's get our businesses going. You know, that'll be like a priority for us to buy and just revamp that. The brand is still there. Surprisingly, the brand power is still there, you know, but, you know, how long is it going to be there for? That's the big question. Right. But anyway, that's going off on a tangent with Beckett as usual. But yeah, no, like that's why I suggested it. Edge Grading is right for a bigger company to buy them out. And it would just benefit the whole ecosystem of grading. Like, this has been the main issue with, you know, grading, you know, the subjectivity, the inconsistency, right? So That being said, I asked this already, but do you think there will be any kind of fallout from this? Because, or will this be a thing like, oh yeah, I remember that time and that was a one-off? Or do you think more of these things need to happen? We know that there are already more of these things happening, but it's got to be even more so in terms of to get PSA to change, their stance or change their operations.
I think PSA overall, Nat Turner knows what he's doing at the end of the day. So I'm hoping that, this gets addressed. This has been going on for the last couple of years, but PSA also has grown immensely over the last couple of years at the end of the day. So, right. You got to give them some slack of, okay, can they still pump out reasonable turnaround times while still changing the grading from whatever it is, 10 million cards or whatever a month, or I don't know how many cards they grade. It's something ridiculous, but there's a lot of business going on there, right? So it's all about PSA having to make the next move now, and that's what it's exactly the point I said before. It's a matter of evolution still. I guarantee you Nat Turner sees it as this is what people are saying now. What's our response to that? And then as we do that, it's kind of like you look back and say, okay, it's this. I remember this last year, a couple years ago, this was a big issue because it's the same thing. If you want to really dissect and audit PSA, you won't like what they're known for in the 90s. You know what I mean? All of the crazy so-called lawsuits that were happening with trimmed cards, there's a bunch of crazy stuff in the hobby world that people talk about, but they don't really talk about that now, right? Because it's all about the evolution of the brand. They've addressed probably those issues so that they don't, come back. And yeah, I think it's the same thing as this. It is a joke right now. Grading is a joke. It's been a joke. You can't be that subjective in grading when millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line here in our market space. So yeah, be wary. You could be on either side of the stick and just be understanding that you could be the victim. You could be someone who's getting awarded from it, right? So
yeah. You know what? As you're talking, I'm thinking about the other grading companies. I would totally use this incident to promote my, kind of like what Edge Grading did, but even Tag.
Absolutely.
This is a perfect opportunity to capitalize on this issue and on this mistake, right? And so they could do that. And I think the big X factor too is Fanatics. I'm not saying they're going to start their own grading company, but you didn't have that level of competition in the hobby like we do now because Fanatics has entered the game. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it's just a simple market competition thing where it starts to force other companies that are leading in their respective industries to actually implement changes. Yeah. So that could be something that could happen with Fanatics in the picture as well. So we'll see. Yep. Always interesting when it comes to grading. Always. I wish Will was here because he would go off on the grading. Yeah. Maybe we'll revisit this issue when he's back on the show. All right. Let's go to our next segment, and it's another round of quiz show. All right. This time, like your exams you used to write in university and college, it's multiple choice. All right. So it's going to be...
I was a C student in every way.
I made these multiple choice easier because in the exams, it's like A, B, C, D, or E. You only have 3 choices for each one. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So 33% chance that you'll get it right by guessing the answer. All right. First question. Which card has had more than 75 public sales, with every sale being for a profit? Okay? So 75 public sales, and every one of those sales sold for a profit. Card number 1, 1909 T206 Honus Wagner. Or card number 2, 1916 Sporting News Babe Ruth rookie card.
This is hard
or
now.
3, 1955 Topps Roberto Clemente PSA 8.
Damn. Now, this is level hard, right? Because it could. I feel like the answer is C, but
there's a 4th year exam. This is how This is why I hate multiple choice personally. Because there's always like, oh, this could be true, but it's a trick. You know what I mean?
It is a trick. I'm going to go with the PSA 8, Roberto Clemente.
Any reason why?
I think it's always been the more underrated card over time. Mm-hmm. I think there's always been a premium for the other two. And a high-graded Clemente, I would say, has always been underrated until more recent. So I'm going to say that's the reason.
Okay, it's a good guess, but the answer is the first one, 1909 T206 Honus Wagner card.
See, that's what I would say the typical answer would be, right?
Right. Then you overthink it. This is what happens.
This is why I was such a bad student. You know, it's called critical thinking when there's no such thing called critical thinking. And
yeah. No, what surprised me about that when I read it was like, you know, there's that many sales of this card. You know, you would think it's like a really old vintage card, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense that really these Grail cards keep going up in value,
right?
Versus like the more modern, 1955 isn't modern, but you know what I mean? Like there's more volatility
for sure
as you get closer to the present. Yeah. All right. Question number 2. The 2024 Bowman, the paper card of Shohei Ohtani Gold. Remember we talked about this last week, the 50-50. The serial number 50-50 and a PSA 9 sold for how much? 1 or A, 1,525. B, 3,500. C, 7,300.
Sorry, what? This is 2024 paper Bowman?
Yes.
And it's numbered to 50, not the 50-50, or it is the 50-50?
It is the 50-50.
Wow.
Rated a PSA 9.
PSA 9. Like the brown color gold? Like it's not the chrome. It's not chrome gold. It's paper gold,
not chrome.
right?
It's not chrome. Yeah.
I
feel like the 2024 Bowman doesn't look as brown as
right.
Year.
It's more a
yellow gold kind of. Yeah.
I would say if it wasn't the 50-50, 1,500 would make sense. I think the little bump would be 3,500. So B.
Correct answer is C, $7,300.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Somebody got taken there.
The other one, the 1525, was the Bowman Chrome card of Ohtani, but it was a jersey number 17 out of 50. Okay, the raw. So that's 1525. And the 3,500 was the Bowman Chrome Mojo, 50 out of 50 raw. So it was also 50-50 raw, but it was the Mojo, the checkered, almost the checkered
But
pattern.
what did that sell for?
3,500.
Okay.
Raw.
So see, I would say like the chrome cards like that would be the card you'd want. So I think the PSA 9 paper is a little expensive for 72 guys.
I agree too. I would have gone with the 3,500. That's a nice looking card. All right. Question 3. The best you can do is 50% now, all right? That's okay. Question 3. Which card has seen a boom recently because of a Netflix special that's currently playing? Okay. First one, the Vince McMahon Topps 2018 wrestling card. There's a Vince McMahon documentary that's out now. B, the Mark Jackson 1990 Hoops card where the Menendez brothers are sitting courtside. You know, there's a Menendez brothers special right now.
Yeah.
And 3, the Hope Solo 2012 Topps Olympics card. The U.S. Olympics soccer player. Right. And there's a Hope's solo documentary.
I thought this was 50-50.
No, there's multiple choice.
Oh, I thought you said this was 50-50. Man.
No, there's 4 questions.
Oh,
so you got
okay.
2 wrong. You
Yeah.
Next 2. Yeah.
Okay, I got to get these next 2. Freak, I wouldn't even know. I failed this. I failed this. This is way too advanced for me because there are multiple things that can happen here. I'm gonna say A in this case, as crazy as that sounds.
Vince McMahon?
Yeah.
That's a good guess because that's the most recent one out. But the answer is B, the Mark Jackson 1990 Hoops card. that kind of saw a rise when we.
I remember,
3 years ago, right?
I remember during COVID that was the spike.
So now there's another spike because of the Menendez brothers movie that's out now, which I haven't seen, but it's getting good reviews, I think. A recent PSA 10 sale of the Mark Jackson card went from $300 to $600 recently.
That's crazy. If you really break it down, this is a perfect example of marketing. Just your basic marketing. So it's like if those two bumps didn't exist, that card would be worthless. Like it would, nobody would know about it, right?
Right.
But
it's like a dollar card.
Yeah, it was a dollar card, right? And nobody would care about that. Even the story behind it, if you said, "Hey, if I told you word of mouth, did you know that these brothers, were murderers or whatever?" And then it's, that's what normally would have, triggered that, but in a more organic fashion. But then you put Netflix or you put it in front of millions of people, you see what happens in result. And it's vice versa. It's like, will that retract? Is that just a little bump and then crash and then steady, right?
Yeah. Imagine you buy it for $1, you get it graded, let's say $20, right? Just buy 100 of these.
Yeah.
$2,000 grading. And if you could sell it for $600 now, that's a $60,000, minus the $2,000 grade, $58,000 profit, just like that.
That's the way to make money, man. I'm telling you, it's grading base cards.
Yeah.
I true story. I did this with Topps Now Donald Trump cards, and the Topps Now, like, it was a great deal. It was like 10. It was on the 2016 presidential debate, and I got all five that I ordered, or 10, all PSA 10, and I got them for like $8 or whatever they were, $7 each. On the multi discount, and they were going for like $150, $200 on PSA 10, and all of them, it was like 100% gem rate, which is crazy. But yeah, that was a quick story of buy raw and grade. That's the way to make money in this hobby.
Definitely had to be more selective these days, but it's still doable.
Well, you never know with PSA, right? So
that's another fact. As our previous segment we discussed, that's a good point. All right, last question. What did the 2024 Topps Chrome Marvel card, that was just released, big deal, 2024 Topps Chrome Marvel card of Spider-Man, the red version, I don't know if they're calling it a refractor, but the red, numbered to 5, of course, sell for recently in raw condition, okay? $8,000, $12,000, or C, $18,000.
Wow. I did like the Marvel release. Like, I think.
Yeah. You messaged us saying.
Yeah, I was like, I would be down for this, but then the prices of the boxes are insane. And I would think that a red out of 5 Spider-Man would be kind of one of the biggest cards in the set. And based on prices, I think 18,000 is way too high, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think 8,000 is too low, so I'm going to go with B. 12.
12,000? This is why you shouldn't think too much. It was $18,000.
Oh my God.
C was the answer. And the super factor was just pulled the other day too. This is why I saw the news. But yes, the most recent sale was a red number 5 for $18,000 raw.
What I don't get is, like, I guess with Marvel cards, autographs become less desirable, I would say, because it's like, who's signing the Spider-Man?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like the guy who played Spider-Man, or, is it the guy who created Spider-Man? Yeah. But then these red refractors color match, I think, would be kind of like those chase cards of, the hardcore collectors, right? And I was actually a Marvel collector. I remember back in, I want to say it was 1994.
Okay.
It's that red foil Marvel masterpieces. It was such a cool experience for me as a kid. So that's why I love Marvel, and I think I would actually get into collecting Marvel.
Me too. Like, some of these cards look really nice, and kind of like what we were talking on, the beginning of the show, singles is the way to go here in this case.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look for singles, nice looking singles that you like, your favorite characters. You could probably get a good deal if you're looking right now, rather than buying a box and hoping for the best. All right,
0 for 4.
That was fun. 0 for 4. Sorry to say, you have to re-enroll in Hobby University.
That's the PhD version of the hobby. You know, I can't sell my masterclass courses now.
Yeah, no, this is more trivia. So yeah, that's okay. You're still good.
That was tough. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's end off our show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. All right, this is where we both choose 2 cards and we debate which one we would rather invest in. All right, so you want to start things off for us?
Sure. I'm actually going to go basketball since we've been talking basketball and the Victor hype. So I'm going to send you the link of one of the cards.
Yep.
So you got from the Topps Chrome set, Sapphire. Ooh. Sorry, this is actually the one I was referring to wasn't a Sapphire. So it's an orange Topps Chrome Victor Wembanyama 1972 auto out of 25. But this one was the orange version that sold for $7,500 just recently. So you do
not
see
the sapphire, like the
not
true
the
orange.
sapphire. It's like I wouldn't say it's the true orange, but it's that orange. It's like a orange foil. Yeah, it's a foil type looking orange. So I wouldn't say it's like a true orange. I didn't even know if there is a true orange in that set, but really good looking card in my opinion. I think it will age well. But you see the price retracting a bit with the new release of Topps Mercury in autos. So that last sale was $7,500, which is, I would say, lower than the previous sale of that card. Would you rather that or a case of the Topps Mercury?
Oh, good one.
But you have to rip it.
Okay.
You can't resell it. The Mercury case is what I'm saying. You got to open it, the box.
Yes. Okay, let me just look up just really quickly the recent sales of like the Victor Wembanyama RPA or even the patch, because I think that's what's going to determine it. Right?
Not a lot of sales right now as of today because it's only been a couple days on the market. So I imagine that sales would increase on the RPAs. On the low number. There's one on bid for like $4,000 with 5 days to go.
Okay. There's one that was a RPA number to 99 that sold for just under 4,000. Another RPA number to 75 that sold for under 3,000. This is all today.
These are all napkin patches.
All napkin patches, yes. Too risky. I'm going for the orange.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you got to hope to hit like the nice patch version of the RPA. That's and then you got a 1 of 8 shot essentially, because everything else you get added up, it won't go to $8,000. That's for sure.
Right.
So yeah, orange.
Orange, eh? I do like that card. I think it's sick.
It's nice.
But I'm gonna go with the Topps Mercury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why? You're a gambler?
I just feel like the autos, the RPAs that you kind of want is the out of 50 and lower. But I think that the money is there right now. If you do pull out of 75, adding it all up, at least you're getting some of that money back. So I would take that chance at that price, at that 8,000 price to rip it actually. But I will say that I think that center card, the reason why I picked that, I think over time, I think that's going to age pretty well.
You think it's going to do better than the Prompose?
No, I don't think it's going to be better than the Prompose. And I purposely didn't pick the Prompose because I think that was the sell point. Like, I think the Prompose, I would have picked the Prompose over the case. But I wanted an insert auto to kind of say, well, what do you think about this insert auto? Especially because the price was going down. I don't think it necessarily that center is center stage or whatever is a bad, especially at number 25. That's a pretty big card. So But in my case, I'm gonna go with the Topps Mercury because I think those really low numbered ones can go crazy. Like if you hit a 101, and like I said, there's 26 of them,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot more out there than what we're thinking. And it would be an immediate sell for me.
Yeah. Still risky, but
very risky. It's stupid. But I don't think
it.
Yeah.
I'll do a poll once this episode comes out. It'll be interesting to see what people say. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go with my pick one. I'm gonna go with 3 cards. Okay, and I'm gonna go all Shohei. I know we talk a lot about Shohei, but MLB playoffs are happening. It's really exciting.
Deservingly, yeah.
I'm hoping the Padres win. Sorry, Dodgers fans out there.
Me too.
I feel like the Dodgers are gonna win though. I think the momentum's shifted all their way, going back to LA, right? So anyway, we'll see by the time this airs. But I'm gonna restrict it to under $1,000. A PSA 10 Shohei. So we always talk high end, but this one you can get all for less than $1,000, between 900 and 1,000. Okay. First one is the 2018 Topps Shohei Ohtani with the bat. He's kind of like just finishing his batting practice or something, and he's waving. You know that one? It's a paper product.
It's a SP.
Yes, it's a number to 700. So the 2018 Topps, not numbered to 700. The card number is 700.
Yeah, so it's a variation of the white jersey. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's wearing red in this one, right? So that last sold for $910 yesterday. All this sold yesterday. Second one, the 2018 Bowman Chrome Shohei Ohtani, the base card, the number 1 from that set, and he's batting in his red jersey.
Right.
Okay. And then that sold for $925. And then the last one, the 2024 Bowman, the 1955 anime. Remember in the Dodgers uniform? It looks like he's a anime cartoon there. That sold for $936. All PSA 10. The 2018 Topps variation, the 2018 Bowman Chrome base, or the 2024 Bowman anime.
I'm going with the first one, to be honest. I think
variation?
Yeah, the variation. I think it will age very well. I do like the Bowman Chrome. Bowman Chrome seems to be the hot one. I would assume that the Bowman Chrome has the highest population between the first and the second one. I would say the PSA 10 should be a lot lower than the Bowman Chrome, the Topps paper 700 SP.
So the Bowman Chrome PSA 10 is 4,289.
Yeah, there's no way
and
that
268 for the variation.
Yeah, for me that's the biggest kicker, and this is my theory. It goes back to my theory. If you were to fast forward 5 years from now, which one would age the best? And I think it's the SP based on the supply demand, the availability, the pop. Bowman Chrome might be more liquid. It's like that silver prism analogy we used to use. It's like that would be great if you want to flip at the right time when the markets were on your side. Whereas that SP might take a while, but over time, I think it's going to win out. And what was the 2024 doesn't even like enter my mind. I'm out on that card. I know it's demanding. It's hyped right now, but that's not me. I rather have a true like flagship SP, low pop, rookie. Yeah. And that I think that's a great buy right now, that first card. If I would say, hey, there's an Ohtani card to buy, I would say based on that pop report, that's a great long-term buy in my opinion.
Yeah. So if I had to choose between the two 2018 rookie cards, I agree with you totally. Just by the pop count itself.
You're going anime.
Right? I'm going anime. I don't know why I'm going anime. It's such a nice looking card. Dodgers uniform. Anime, it has a Japanese connection. Maybe I'm like you in the multiple choice. I'm overthinking this. but I think there's a play there. And I don't know. The only thing that would prevent me from going anime for this is that there are refractors of this card. Like there's a gold, there's an orange, and there's a super. Right? So personally, I'm actually looking at some of the golds. One raw sold for $1,300-$1,400, which is I would more likely do that than get a base PSA 10 version even. And the pot count for it right now is 166. So it is a case hit. So there is a limited supply, but it's not numbered. I don't know, man. I don't read anime. I don't look at anime, but this card looks nice.
Here's a question for you. Does it matter as a collector? Mm-hmm. So do you know how you have sometimes artists sketches or, like in this case, anime, where it's not necessarily a picture or image of the actual player?
Yeah.
Does that matter? Like, for instance, let's just say you have like the anime card and then it has like a sticker auto of Ohtani. Mm-hmm. Would that matter as opposed to a sticker auto on a actual printed photography of the player? Because that's what cards are, right? It's the photography. Does the graphics or a computer graphic altered card actually make a difference? I know we talked about like the hybrid with a lot of Photoshop cards, but I'm talking, this is like anime character. This is, the ultraviolet SSPs that are kind of manufactured.
If you asked me this 3-4 years ago, I would say yes, absolutely matters. The Panini manga hated it when it came out.
Right.
Yet it's popular. If you look at the sales, like people love these manga cards, depending on the player, of course. So anime, I've slowly changed my mind on my stance. So that's a really good question, but you're asking me now, doesn't matter as much. If there's a sticker auto on top of it versus like a sticker auto on a photograph card, it's the same thing to me, to tell you the truth. And because if photography really mattered, Stadium Club would be amazing. When we talked about Stadium Club before, just no respect really. Right. That it's, that needs, it deserves much more respect. But yeah, I've totally changed my stance on like, and then we talked about Topps Marvel card just before this,
right.
Like there is a audience for these kind of cards now. More so for Marvel, obviously, because it's a comic book. But I feel like as we go on, it just won't be sports fans, but it'll be, fans that are, into anime or, and maybe into both anime and sports. I have several friends that are into both. This would be perfect card for them, Right. And I think that number will grow over time. So
I think it's crazy to see your evolvement of the hobby, because I would say classify you as a very Bowman Chrome classic. That's all you used to like. Yeah. That's where it's at. And then the evolvement of kind of like more modern type cards. It's good to see though. But that's my whole point. My whole point of why I asked it is our collecting habits change over time, which is fine.
100%.
Mine has as well. I went back and forth, and then stuff like anime, I'm not fully adapted to, but I do like, I guess more trendy cards, art pieces that a lot of people value as collectible. I start being more open-minded to that, because I would say I'm more of a classic hobbyist. Like I used to be all about the SSP papers, for instance. Like, you know what I mean? The Acuna white jersey was the chase. The Juan Soto Gatorade bat was the chase. But I think people's collecting habits do change over time, and I think it's good.
Yeah. No, it's a good point you bring up. And I'll say one more thing before we finish the show, but what is also, why I like looking at these cards, Shohei cards, other than the one that we just did for pick one, most of them, the ones I like, I still love Bowman Chrome, don't get me wrong, the rookie autos, the prospect autos, those are just so out of a lot of people's price range now. Right. You can't get those cards for cheap for Shohei. So these other cards are kind of more interesting because they are cheaper, relatively speaking. You know what I mean? If the anime card was like 5,000-6,000, I'm like, no, there's no way. I'd rather just go for the flagship rookie auto and pay a little bit more for that. But these are like just over $1,000, and that's more doable. And money. I guess when it kind of reminds me of what McConaughey. I think it was Matthew McConaughey in another interview. He's like, money makes you change your perspective. Like he's like, he read this one script, he goes the other way. Like, oh, so like for me, it's like, oh, this card's relatively cheap. I kind of like this card all of a sudden, With McConaughey, he said he was reading the script. It was like a rom-com. You know how he used to do a lot of rom-coms back in the day.
Yeah.
And he said it was awful. Like he just didn't like it. And then they kept on offering him more and more money, like $14 million at the end. He's like, Script's not that bad.
He learned to love it. He learned to make the best out of it. That's a good point. Yeah.
So it goes the other way too. It's like, oh, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. I'm like, this is worth a look. and maybe I'll buy it, and you could flip it later on if it's a good value at this point. But anyway, another great episode. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Again, like I said off the top, we have our monthly newsletter you can sign up for. Just check the links in the show notes below. And we'll have a brand new episode for you on Friday. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.